Once upon a time, in Freehold, New Jersey, lived Miss Elly. She had once loved a cat named Daisy who lived to be 22 years old. When Daisy went to kitty heaven, Miss Elly was very sad. It took a long time before she felt ready to love another cat. After mourning the loss of Daisy, Miss Elly and Mr. Frank visited countless places, searching for a new kitten, but none of them felt quite right.
How many kittens are you going to look at? Mr. Frank asked, sounding a bit weary.
I'll know the right kitten when I see her, Miss Elly said softly.
In an empty warehouse in Jersey City, New Jersey, a mother cat had 4 tiny kittens.
The kittens mewed and mewed because their mother had to leave them often to find food. One day, a kind woman was walking past the warehouse when she heard their tiny cries. She peeked inside and found the kittens, but their mother got scared and ran away. A few days later, the woman came back with a cat carrier. She wanted to bring the mama cat and her kittens home, but the mama cat was too frightened and ran away again. So the woman carefully took the kittens, hoping to help their mama another day.
The kittens went to live near Freehold, New Jersey, but they were too little to eat on their own. They needed to be fed with tiny bottles, so the kind woman called a cat rescue group. The rescuers cared for the kittens until they were big and strong enough to find new homes.
One day, Miss Elly went to a pet store and asked about kittens. The store gave her the number of a cat rescue group that had recently received kittens for adoption. So Miss Elly and Mr. Frank went to visit. There were 4 little kittens. Miss Elly picked up each one and gently petted them. But when she put down the gray and white kitten, that kitten mewed and tried to climb right back up her leg.
Miss Elly bent down and petted the kitten. The kitten lay her head in Miss Elly's hand, closed her eyes, and purred. It was love at first sight. "This is the kitten I want," said Miss Elly. She decided to name her Molly, but Molly was still too young to go home, so Miss Elly had to wait a few more weeks.
The day finally came when Miss Elly and Mr. Frank brought Molly home. Molly was so tiny in her carrier, she mewed and cried the whole ride, but soon she learned her name and felt safe and happy. One special day, Miss Elly's grandchildren, Alex, Katie, Emily, and Kristen, came to meet Molly. Emily had new shoes and brought the empty shoebox for Molly. Miss Elly put a soft cloth inside, and Molly curled up and fell asleep. Even when Molly was too big, she still tried to squeeze into that little box. Everyone laughed and called it Molly's magic box. Molly made everyone laugh when she puffed up her tail, arched her back, and danced sideways across the floor like a Halloween cat. She loved the attention and did her funny dance for many years. She also loved to play chase. She would peek around the corner to see if Miss Elly was coming. Then she'd dash sideways into the living room, and Miss Elly would chase her. One day, when Molly was about a year old, she wanted Miss Elly to chase her in the bedroom. Molly ran onto the hallway banister but lost her balance and fell downstairs. Miss Elly screamed, but luckily Molly landed safely in a tall vase filled with dry flowers. She wasn't hurt at all, but she never tried that trick again. When Molly was young, Miss Elly brought her a tiny harness and leash, hoping to take her for walks. But when Miss Elly put the harness on, Molly flopped down and refused to move. So Miss Elly decided Molly would stay inside.
Molly loved plopping onto the shelf of Miss Elly's African violet light stand, soaking in the lilac light.
When Miss Elly came home from work, Molly raced down the stairs, meowing and rubbing against her. At night, she sat by her toys and stared at Miss Elly until she played with her.
Molly also loved Mr. Frank. Whenever she saw him, she rolled onto her back with her paws in the air for a tummy rub.
Molly learned that when the suitcases came out, it meant that Miss Elly and Mr. Frank were going away. Miss Elly and Mr. Frank had special toys for Molly when they traveled. One time, Miss Elly forgot to put them out, and Molly sat in front of the closet staring at it until Miss Elly realized what she wanted. Molly had a cat sitter named Miss Alex Ann, whom she liked very much, but she was always happiest when Miss Elly and Mr. Frank came home. She'd run out meowing and rub against them and purr and purr.
Molly loved going on the patio with Miss Elly and Mr. Frank, but she was a timid, scared cat. If a squirrel came close, she ran the other way. She peeked into the woodpile to look for chipmunks, but didn't know what to do if one ran out.
One time, in one of Molly's bravest moments, she caught a butterfly and gently placed it at Miss Elly's feet. If another cat or animal came into the yard, Molly either hid behind Miss Elly or dashed inside the house. Miss Elly and Mr. Frank always laughed about how timid Molly was. As the years passed, Molly grew older and quieter. One day, Miss Elly noticed that Molly seemed sad. "What's wrong, Molly?" asked Miss Elly. "I'm bored and sometimes scared outside the house," said Molly. "It's no fun being a house cat. In my next life, I want to be a lion." Miss Elly was surprised. "Molly, you're afraid of everything. How could you be a lion?" "I'll be fearless," said Molly. "I'll hunt and take care of my family." Miss Elly and Molly talked about it many times. Miss Elly hoped Molly would someday get her wish. The years passed and Molly grew old and slept most of the time. Miss Elly would read beside her and talk to her. A few years after Molly went to kitty heaven, Miss Elly had a wonderful dream. She dreamed that Molly had been reborn as a lion cub in Samburu National Park in Kenya. In the dream, Molly wanted Miss Elly and Mr. Frank to visit her in Africa. When Miss Elly woke up, she felt sure it was a message from Molly. She and Mr. Frank decided to wait until the lion cub would be grown up before visiting. At last, Miss Elly and Mr. Frank flew to Kenya. It was a beautiful country filled with amazing animals. They went on safari and saw elephants, giraffes, rhinos, cheetahs, and lion prides. Miss Elly asked their guide, "Is there a young lion here who is very brave?" "Oh yes," said the guide. "We have a handsome young lion who has taken over a pride. We call him Suja. That means brave warrior in Swahili." For days they searched but couldn't find Suja. One morning they spotted him sleeping among the lionesses and cubs. His paws were crossed, just the way Molly used to cross hers. Miss Elly whispered, "Molly?" The lion opened his eyes and looked at Miss Elly for a long, gentle moment, nodded his head, and then went back to sleep. Miss Ellie's heart was filled with joy. She knew it was Molly, reborn as a brave lion. They revisited Suja, and each time he opened his eyes and looked right at Miss Ellie. Miss Ellie and Mr. Frank flew home, happy and full of love. Miss Ellie knew that Molly had gotten her wish at last to be a brave lion. And she knew deep in her heart that one day she and Molly would be together again.